Start the recording. Okay, switch screens. All right, so welcome back, guys, to another lovely session of Arcadia. As you may have noticed, we are actually meeting this week instead of every other week. That is so we can have our lovely captain with us today. After this, we will be returning to every other week. Kind of playing it by ear, but we'll see. Just if you're confused, just pay attention to the little extension I have on my Twitch. If it says there's a Sunday game, then there's a Sunday game. Other couple of announcements I have. As I said yesterday during Ophion's opening announcements, I will be at PAX West in the first weekend of September. And if you're in the area and you want to hang out, or if you want to try and get in on the con game of STA that I want to run, you're going to want to watch my Twitter, and I think pretty much just my Twitter, yeah. As most of the playtime and what table I'm at and where I might be, I'll be announcing most of that via Twitter. But of course, if again you want to hang out outside of that, just feel free to shoot me a message. I'm happy to meet anyone that is hopefully not an axe murderer. What was the other thing I was going to ask? Oh, yes. Very shortly, the Wrath and Glory online PDF will be out. And again, for those unfamiliar, Wrath and Glory is the new 40k RPG, RPG. And I'm going to probably do an applicant for my previous players. And after that, if I still have open slots, I will sort of open it up to the masses. So you're going to want to be watching my Twitter for that application link if you are interested. Other than that, the last announcement I have, well, actually I lie, there's two more. The second to last is that I have been having some minor tech issues over the past couple days. So hopefully the VOD pans out and I don't disconnect, but if it does, we will deal with problems if and when they come up. The final announcement is today will be a sort of interesting session in that this could very well be a 1 hour episode, or this could very well be even a two-parter. It's really going to come down to how the players react to the situation that I present to them. But without any further ado, Captain, I believe you have our log this week.
I do. Captain's log, stardate 50911.4. Although I've been preoccupied expending the last of my diplomatic contacts on Romulus, I've been brought fully up to date on both the subjects of Captain Harlock and his Arcadia and the recent battle at Sector 001, namely the fact that the Enterprise E foiled the Borg's attempt to rewrite human history, and that Harlock's Arcadia seems to have vanished. Rather than divert the Arcadia back to Earth, cooler heads and the impracticality of our distance have prevailed. The Arcadia will continue on its current course. Given how unusually threatening these recent developments have been, it feels strange to almost ignore them, but we have a job to do. After a brief layover at Regulus 4, 5, and even more personnel transfers, we have an uninterrupted itinerary en route to Starbase 211.
All right, very good. So, as the captain has pointed out via Stardate, this is a non-insignificant amount of time after your initial encounter with Harlock and the whole momentary Borg taking over history, little blip in reality. So, before you do arrive at Regulus 5, I did want to sort of give you all the opportunity to do little bits of RP, because I feel like some people might have some, I guess you would call it wrap-up or comments on the whole, either the Borg or the Harlock situation. So kind of an open floor. Does anyone want to have a specific scene with anyone in particular?
Seems like nothing comes to mind.
Okay.
I think a tactical meeting with my first officer and tactical officer would be in order.
Sure. Let's have that happen in your ready room. And there we go. I'll adjust the map here in a second, but you can go ahead and get started. Where's Crowley? All right, there's Crowley. And where's our new tactical officer? There he is. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
So, as both of you know, I was not able to make it to the bridge before the Arcadia disappeared. But what is your tactical assessment of our namesake ship?
It was overpowering. Could have destroyed us really easily. And I think if we tried to engage with it, we probably would have been destroyed.
Lieutenant, you had suggested that it shared many similarities to Earth battleships of old. Is that correct?
That is correct, Captain.
Well, we don't know if we're going to run into this Arcadia again, but I feel like it's more likely than numbers would predict. I'd want a battle plan ready in case that does happen. Perhaps we can use any similarities to old battleships to form a strategy in our favor.
It might be possible, but given some of the protections from the hull, we couldn't get a full scan of their weapon system. What I gave wasn't even 100% of what was on that ship, Captain. For all we know, it's much worse.
Perhaps then the answer is in its unique propulsion system. We should have our engineering and science teams take a look into that as well.
I'll forward information to them, Captain.
Well, hopefully none of this will be necessary, but I'd rather hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Of course.
Well, all that's left then is the subject of our continuing voyage. We are headed toward the front lines. We do expect... has battle broken out yet by the start date?
No, but it is very close in the timeline, though of course you don't know that.
That's right. Oh, it's very close. Okay. Let's just say that my communications with the Romulan senator did not end at an opportune time. So, let's go ahead and start running as many drills as we can against Dominion tactics, both hand-to-hand and ship tactical systems. Commander Crowley and Lieutenant, I believe the two of you can come up with an excellent plan.
I've already handed a report into Ensign or Lieutenant Tivna, so she could spread out amongst the personnel and Starfleet. I've already been doing hand-to-hand drills and tactical combat.
How are you getting along with the new intelligence officer?
Would have been like to have been briefed on one being aboard the vessel.
Sorry, Commander, must have gotten lost in all the paperwork, but it's probably best that she keeps a low profile.
Well, she didn't cause any damage to my setup. She's actually quite adept to it. So, she is valued in the space she's working at right now.
Well, that's excellent. Well, I don't have anything further for you, gentlemen. Unless you do, we can call this meeting adjourned.
Alrighty. In that case, if nobody's stopping him, Lieutenant Klein will go ahead and exit the captain's ready room.
Roger that.
Commander, how do you feel about our new tactical officer?
I think he's good so far. He got given praise from Janice when he was doing gamma shifts.
Excellent. I see here in a... it's no matter.
Is there anything else, sir?
No, that's it. Thank you, Commander.
And yeah, Carl will head out.
All right. Anyone else have a scene they'd like to get out of the way before you arrive at Regulus?
Hmm. Um, Given what I was told by the captain about meeting with science and engineering about possibly coming up with something to disable the other Arcadia's engine systems, I
Hmm.
would I have my own office or no?
Technically, if I remember the Sovereign floor plan correctly, or at least the semi-official one, on deck 2, every single member of the senior staff and every single department head has their own office.
Gotcha. In that case, I would like to meet with both uh Ensign Hyde and actually let's go with Ensign Carruthers in my office.
Okay. I will put us on this map, and you can get started as I move tokens around, but should be fairly quick.
And also, question: the other Arcadia had what exactly was its engine systems? Because I can't quite remember.
It ran on what appeared to be some form of dark matter manipulation.
Just one second here. Cool. Hello, Ensign Hyde and Ensign Crothers. I've called you here because I think you two might be right for the job that's been assigned to me by the captain. As you both may know, we had our recent encounter with the another Arcadia and its Captain Harlock, and he has tasked me with possibly coming up with a way to take out their engine systems, which, from what I've read up on, is a system of dark matter manipulation. Now, would either of you have any ideas as to what could possibly be used to take out that kind of system?
I've got some theories, Lieutenant. Things that I think, not necessarily weaknesses, but things we might be able to use.
Well, I'll be glad to hear them.
And I'm kind of bullshitting here a little bit, but
No, feel
Sure,
free.
go ahead. Technobabble's fun.
I have a running theory that the ship's enormous mass is part of the reason that it is able to maintain its field of dark matter. By having its own gravitational field, it can pull the dark matter along without needing particularly difficult electromagnetic containment like we would need for dark matter.
I see.
But this is also a weakness. If we were to bring it near a very powerful gravitational field, it could lose all of that dark matter to something more powerful and
I see.
very quickly lose its only form of propulsion. But that's only a theory.
Of course. And Crothers, do you have any theories of your own?
It seems it makes a ion storm when it travels within its wake. If we somehow disperse or possibly find a way to ignite the gases within the storm, we could short out the engines.
Interesting. Well, if you find the time, both of you, I'd like for both of you to work on something akin to what your theories propose, and if you would need any help, feel free to call me, because I have a bit of experience in engineering myself.
Happily, if I come up with a sufficient strategy that I believe can be employed, you'll be the first to know.
Alright, thank you. Well, if neither of you have questions for me, then you're both dismissed.
Carruthers will head on out.
Alright.
Hyde will linger for a second because she's a little lost in thought about this now, because she's just been told that she can think about it. But eventually she'll get the hint and leave.
Alrighty.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, in that case, I think that's everyone more or less, so we'll skip ahead a bit. But of course, feel free to interrupt me if you want to get something done. So eventually, the Arcadia does arrive at Regulus 5, and you enter into a pretty much a standard orbit of the planet. For those unaware, Regulus 5 is a Cation colony, of all things,
Hmm.
and it's pretty much in the middle of Federation space. If you were to look at the Star Trek Adventures galaxy map that they provide, it is literally on a parallel, like directly left from Epsilon 10. I think it's about 25 light years, something like that. Um, but it should be easy to find. Also, you could look for the Suliban helix and should be pretty close to that as well. Um, but the sort of semi-important thing is that, as the captain said in his log, you are taking on and dropping off certain personnel. Obviously, no one among the senior staff that I'm aware of, anyway. But it would be prudent to note that obviously new and fresh faces are coming aboard and sort of being introduced to their various departments. However, unless any of you want to make a scene out of it, either just going down to the planet for a little bit or briefing your new crew, I think we can skip ahead a little bit again. So, quick check. Anyone have anything?
I don't have a scene to make of it, but I do think it's a worthy thing to have the full ceremony and like the whistle, the whole pomp and circumstance. I think it's good for the officers, and that's something I like to do.
Okay, fair enough. Anyone else?
I don't have anything in particular.
I think I'll lay low on the hazing rituals for new engineering staff. Probably for the best. I think hazing went the way of the dinosaur some 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, noted. All right, in that case, we finally get to cut to the meat of the session and where I start to laugh as evilly as I can as the GM.
Oh.
So, we cut to sickbay. It has been approximately, we'll say, 3 hours since the Arcadia leaves Regulus behind. And, you're traveling at warp speed. You're at a cruising speed of about warp 8. So, you're making fairly good time to Starbase 211. And you're, farther away from the planet than you are closer to it, if that makes any sense. Bryn, you're doing your thing. You're doing standard CMO things when the door opens. And can you guess who's walking in?
Ensign Jensen, what do you want?
So when Ensign Jensen walks in, I actually have a token for him.
Yes.
Now, when I
That's
say
perfect.
he walks into sickbay, it's giving
Oh my
him probably a
God.
little too much credit. It's more like the doors open and he almost stumbles and collapses to the floor of sickbay as he steps in. And he goes, Doc, Doc.
Just get up and I stomp over towards him with my new gentleman's walking stick that I've picked up on Regulus. It's like a big piece of like driftwood that he's fashioned in. Anyway, what is the problem now?
And there's a pause as, it looks like he's literally nodding off and he says, I'm tired as hell, Doctor. I think I must have acute hypersomnia.
Of course you do. All right, get up on the bed.
And you see that he actually tries to stand, but it's almost as if his legs won't support him. So you might need to bring in your nurse.
That's Tom, right?
Yep.
Tom,
Yes, Lieutenant Commander.
get over here. We need to help this. Looks like this might actually be legitimate this time.
I mean, he's put on a show before, but as you say, Doctor, which bed do you want him on?
It doesn't matter. Just the closest one.
All right, so Tom sort of puts a one of those arm over his shoulders and picks up Jensen and puts him on the bed. And again, Jensen sort of is in a crumpled state. He seems to want to, naturally curl up into a ball type thing, but
Mhm.
he's sort of sitting straight up at this point. But
Does it seem?
go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna say, does it seem like is he showing any sort of true symptoms this time around?
I would say just looking at him, a visual inspection would tell you that he does appear to be very lethargic. His movements are very sluggish, more so than a good actor could put on.
Mhm.
It does legitimately seem like he is experiencing extreme fatigue.
All right, I'm gonna get out the medical tricorder and ask him some questions as I start scanning him.
Okay.
Ensign, did you leave the ship when we came into orbit on Regulus? Did you go planet side?
No, doctor. I was in my quarters. I was actually asleep. I'm not scheduled for duty shift for another couple hours.
You've had no interaction with anybody boarding the ship?
Uh, maybe I don't know all the faces I pass in the hallways.
You've had no intimate relations with anybody that's just come on the ship?
No.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and use the medical tricorder and scan him.
All right. Go ahead and give me a reason medicine, and we'll make this a difficulty 2.
Okay.
And I'll let the succeed at cost. So you're still going to get some information, but obviously succeeding will get you more.
Checking to see if I have any focuses or anything. I have virology. Would that?
No, not in this instance.
Okay. And toxicology.
I guess you could argue that since, not sleeping kind of is a buildup of toxins because your body does kind of flush that out while you're sleeping.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll let toxicology apply.
Hey.
Look at that. You guys start off with a momentum. And remember, you can spend that momentum on a question if you so like. But your initial scan, Dr. Bryn, is that everything Jensen is telling you is actually lining up for once. His muscles are strained. They are, I hate to keep using the word fatigued, but it is a very good descriptor. It does legitimately seem that his entire body seems to be begging for a chance to go to sleep. I would say if I had to use a real world equivalent, this looks as if Jensen has stayed up for 2 or 3 days and wants to go to sleep at this point, but something's keeping him up. Just barely, though.
Jensen, when was the last time you actually slept?
Well, I got reading the medical database again, and I thought I might have. Yeah, and he does kind of actually stop there, and he does start nodding off a little bit.
All right, I'm going to have Tom actually lay him back where he's no longer sitting up on the bed.
Okay.
And
So probably about halfway into that procedure, Jensen actually kind of snaps her and goes, no,
it's all right, Jensen. We're going to try to just have you lay down here. You didn't finish, though. When was the last time you actually slept? And by the way, stop looking up things in the medical database. The last time you did that, you thought you had... Never mind. Just look. Stop looking in that, all right?
If you say so, Doc. I guess it's maybe been 18 hours since I last slept.
As they're talking, Crowley's going to walk in.
Okay, sure. There you go.
Doctor, I got the new rosters of personnel joining the ship. I'm going to be scheduling them for checkups. I want to make sure to clear it by you for your time.
Yeah, that's fine. Just, Tom, stay here for a second.
Got it, sir.
Right. Yes, Commander.
We're taking on new personnel, so I want to have them all their physical setup before they start doing their shifts. What would be a good time for this to happen?
Pretty much any time. I've already gone over all the medical exams on the current crew. How many people do we have coming on?
How many people do we have coming on, GM?
You can do a nebulous number somewhere between 1 and 25.
We got about 23 people coming aboard.
All right, just schedule them over the next couple of days. Yeah. Bren looks actually somewhat distracted and slightly concerned as he keeps glancing over at Ensign Jensen over in the bio bed.
What do I feel from Jensen and Bren, besides concern?
I think from Jensen, you would get a sense of weariness and a sense of confusion.
Doctor, is everything all right?
I'm not actually sure, Commander. Jensen is showing signs of fatigue that is unusual. I mean, it's only been 18 hours, he's saying, since he slept. I mean, I need to do more scans and ask him some more questions, but this kid comes in here all the time. He gets the slightest rash and he thinks he's dying. This is just a daily thing with him, but this time I'm not so sure.
Alright. Ensign Jensen, was it?
You have to say it again, but the second time you say it, he does respond as a commander, and he snaps a very bad salute, but he's at least trying, and you see the same thing Bryn saw, where his movements are very sluggish, and he's not very responsive.
Well, I think the doctor will agree with me. You're relieved of duty until the doctor clears you.
I agree.
Thank you, sirs.
Keep me updated on his health. I'll let him know his department head of what's happening.
Whatever department that is. Sure thing, Commander.
Also, you said this has been happening for a while? Is there any other personnel that are having extreme phobias?
No. I mean that the clinical term, he's a hypochondriac, Commander. But this time it's not his imagination. I've not had any reports from anyone else feeling fatigue, but I'm going to keep on top of this.
All right. Give me a full report on him, permitting doctor-patient confidentiality of his activities with coming in and out of sickbay. If it's impacting his duty, I want to know.
Will do.
And then Crowley will leave.
All right.
Jensen, you say you last slept 18 hours ago. How much sleep did you actually get?
Maybe about 6 or 7 hours.
Have you been having trouble sleeping before this?
Well, I looked at the medical database and I thought I forget the name of the symptom, but I thought I legitimately couldn't fall asleep for months.
For months. All right, well, we're going to keep you under observation here. When I did his medical scan, there was it just showed that he was showing symptoms of just not having slept.
Yes, but again, I would say it is about 2 or 3 stages beyond a simple day's worth or day's lack of sleep.
There's no indication of any sort of toxins or any sort of virus or anything that's going on?
No, not that your tricorder has picked up, if there is anything at all.
All right. Tom, we're going to keep him under observation. He's to stay here in the bio bed. And let's keep a track on his vitals while he's laying here.
You got it, sir.
And I'm going to give him fill up the hyperspray with something that's going to help him sleep.
Okay. Standard sedative. There's a ton of those in the Star Trek verse, and
yeah, I'm gonna have to get like a little make myself like a little list of different different things. So yeah, I'll have that for the future to help out with that.
Well, I think the two big ones are cordrazine and anestazine. They're like used
Well,
for everything.
we'll use anesthetine. That sounds good.
All right, cool.
Remember, I'm not great with the words, but I'm a hell of a doctor.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty much where the scene in sickbay stops, but we do now cut to main engineering. And Ensign Hyde, you're currently in talks with Chief Alon, and you notice, probably for the very first time, that Alon actually yawns, like a full-on has to stop for a moment and cover his mouth yawn.
This is probably the first time I've ever seen a Vulcan yawn.
It's probably the first
Now
time
that I
anyone's
think of-
seen a Vulcan yawn.
Are people staring and pointing?
I would say no one but you seems to have noticed it at this point.
Are you feeling okay, Chief?
Chief, you must excuse me. I am feeling somewhat distressed, maybe?
If you're feeling as if you're working too hard, you can feel free to take a day or two off. Now that the matter on deck 7 is handled, we shouldn't need too many people down here. Feel free to get some extra rest if you need it.
I would greatly appreciate that, Chief. I think it would actually be logical for me to do that. If you'll excuse me then.
The body is a machine that must be cared for.
It's a rather logical and astute observation. Take care, Chief. And Alon does sort of a walk out of engineering, and last you see of him is sort of his back as he goes down the corridor towards what you're assuming are his quarters. Meanwhile, on the bridge,
Boy.
we have, let's see, where is Klein? All right, so there's Klein. Crowley's here. Captain is in his chair, presumably. And yeah, I would say at this point, it has been approximately 5 to 6 hours since you guys left Regulus 5. And, you know, there's not a whole lot to do on the bridge at this point. I mean, you are pretty much just going between point A and point B. And, you know, you're just sort of doing your own thing, maybe reading a report, when all of a sudden, Janice just thunks onto his console. And Hylong very alarmedly kind of looks to the side and says, Lieutenant Janice. And she starts taking his shoulder. Are you all right, Janice? No response.
Crowley will walk up and pull him back into his seat, so he's pulled against the chair, and you'll check him over.
Okay. Even with your, I don't know, what is your medicine score, out of curiosity?
I think it's a 1.
Okay. Well, in that case, you can see that either he's faking being asleep or he is just plain unconscious.
I might check up on him. My medicine's 3, if that makes it any better.
Sure. I guess my major question is are either of you pulling out a tricorder and scanning him?
I would be.
Okay. In that case, you may roll a reason plus medicine, and the difficulty will be a 2.
Okay. Reason plus medicine. That's not too. Don't have a focus. Meant on this.
Hey, you get the 2 successes you need.
Hey.
So, a little bit of good news, bad news here. Good news, Janice appears to be fine. It's not like he's suddenly, lost control of his motor functions or had a stroke or a seizure. Bad news is he's out like a light. Like, no matter what you're doing, the tricorder says that he's just simply unconscious, and a little bit of poking or maybe a little bit of cordrazine should wake him up, but he's not stirring.
Okay.
Captain, with permission, I'll take him down to sickbay.
Permission granted.
Yeah, I'm gonna fireman carry Janice.
Okay.
There we go.
So we cut back to sickbay in sort of a rapid fashion. And Bryn, at this point, your beds are filled by other individuals. And you're getting I guess you would call it a global or ship-wide sort of assessment of what's going on. Um, to boil it down into simple terms, a lot of people are reporting that they are experiencing fatigue, that they are asking for little time off, early duty shifts ending, things of that nature. However, the three individuals, including Jensen, that you have in your sick bay, all three of them have slipped into what would be the medical equivalent of a coma. And you can't find a reason for this. And no matter what you try, nothing is waking them up from said coma.
When we had the interaction with the other Arcadia, that was some sort of temporal anomaly kind of deal, wasn't it?
You're not actually sure. The Battle of Sector 001 was a very extremely brief, I can English good. A very brief instance of time where the Borg sort of took over, quote unquote, but only a few select hypersensitive individuals even felt that. So I would say no to that question.
Okay, so there's no like discrepancies in the chronometers on board the ship or anything?
Not that you're seeing, no.
Okay. All right. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and activate the EMH
Okay.
and to try to get just as much help as I can with treating whoever's coming into sickbay.
Okay. And it is at that point that Commander Crowley does walk in with Janice in tow.
On his shoulder.
Yep. Photos token. There it is.
Janice too, huh? All right. I have a much bigger sick bay than what's showing here, right?
Yeah, I would say you have probably about 7 or 8 beds.
Okay, and all my beds are filled?
I would say 3 or 4 of your beds are filled at the moment.
Okay. Commander, go ahead and put him into one of the beds. Any one of the ones that are available. We've got a sort of situation going on, it appears.
What's the issue?
There are reports of fatigue coming from all over the ship. People are leaving their shifts early, requesting time off, and now we have several members of the crew that we've brought in here that they are, for all intents and purposes, they're in a coma, and I cannot wake them up. And to be honest, I don't know if I should. It may be dangerous to try to force them awake out of this, whatever it is that they're in. Generally a coma is the body's way of trying to kind of shut down and repair itself. So I'm a little reluctant to force them out of this state. But this is definitely not anything I've encountered before. This is not good.
Is there any outside factor interfering with this?
Not that I've been able to tell so far, no. I thought it may have had something to do with that weird ship and the reports we had coming from Sector 001, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. I thought it may have been a time gap where people were just awake for hours longer than they thought without realizing it, but it doesn't seem to be any sort of discrepancies with the chronometers on board the ship. So I don't know. We're trying to figure it out, though. We're continuing to research and figure out what's going on.
What do I sense from anyone in sickbay that's in the coma?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. Like no base emotion. Nothing.
Nope. They, for all intents and purposes, they are blanks to you.
Well, that's concerning. I'm not feeling anything from them. Typically, when someone's asleep, I can still feel what their emotional state is in their dreams.
What kind of brain? Is there abnormal brain activity for the status that they're in?
I would say not that you're seeing. does seem to be consistent with standard sort of coma, very low level, very much housekeeping sorts of, I don't want to call them subroutines, but
Mhm.
subroutines is probably actually a good word to use. Um, you're not seeing any, we'll call it higher brain functions. So they're definitely not dreaming, and they're definitely not aware of what's going on.
Doctor, are they entering REM state?
It doesn't appear that way, no. I mean, generally in REM state, there's going to be some sort of brain activity, but this is almost a straight up coma. I mean, the brain's shut down to the most minimal activity.
Oh, I remember in a report that happened to the Enterprise, they encountered a phenomenon that was depriving the crew of REM sleep, but they were also stuck, and we're not in that situation.
I mean, there is no indication of REM, right?
Nope.
Okay. I mean, I don't know about anybody else aboard ship. I know that these people here in sick bay, that are in this coma state, are not having any REM activity. But I don't know about anybody else aboard ship that's just requesting time to rest. But there is massive reports of fatigue around the ship, like I said.
Any reports from the new crew members who took a part?
I've not actually separated that information. No, that'd be a good place for me to start.
Yeah, if they're not affected yet by this, we can try and narrow down what could be causing this. I'll let the captain know, and keep us up to date.
Very well. Yeah,
As I go...
I was going to say I'll go ahead and check on those reports and see if the reports coming in from the new crew members, if they are experiencing the same fatigue, and if it's in the same, if it's like in the same numbers, like if it,
I think I get what you're getting at. I would say maybe one of the 23 has reported as showing symptoms, but the other 22 don't seem to be any issue.
What kind of ratio are we talking on the rest of the crew members?
I would say, based on the numbers you're just, sort of head mathing, I would say about 10% of the crew is affected at this point. So the Sovereign
not that
class
far off.
has...
About 60 some odd people.
I think I said you guys have, 700 crew on the Sovereign?
6,
So
7.
70 people have been affected thus far?
And how many people are in here in the coma state?
That you're not 100% sure on. You just know that these 3 in your sick bay are in a coma.
Mhm.
But unless you legitimately go door to door and quarter to quarter to check, I mean, there could be more, there could be less.
I'm gonna send a message to Crowley. Has Crowley left sickbay yet?
I would say you could probably catch him on his way out.
Commander,
Hmm?
I think maybe we should do kind of a head count of members on board ship to make sure that nobody's fallen into the state in their quarters alone. I want to make sure that we have anybody that's in the state here in sickbay and under observation.
Alright. Oh, I have an idea. Computer, ship-wide announcement.
Kind of beeps and says, go ahead.
All personnel, please report in to your department heads. Department heads, please report to Commander Crowley for confirmation of personnel. You have 5 minutes to report in. If not, security will be dispatched to check in on you.
Okay.
And then I'll message Klein.
Captain to Commander.
Commander here.
We just heard your announcement. What's the issue? Is this about Janice?
Yes, it seems to be spreading. We're doing the head count right now to make sure everyone that is affected is accounted for. We want to find out if there's anyone else that we might be missing.
I see. Continue, Commander. I'll contact Regulus 5.
Very good. And then I'll contact Klein.
Okay.
Commander Crowley to Klein.
Go ahead, Commander.
I'm going to need you to get security team set up to go into personnel's quarters just to do a physical check on them if no one is reporting in.
Right away, Commander.
All right.
I just looked at the doctor. I was like, anything else?
How long has it been since we left Regulus 5?
At this point, it is coming up on 6.5, if not 7 hours.
Okay, and the symptoms from the people that I've been talking to have been they've begun before or since we left Regulus 5.
It seems to be since you left Regulus 5.
Okay, I would like the one person that is experiencing fatigue from Regulus 5, or that came on board. He's not in a coma, right? He's just experiencing fatigue.
Yeah, the last report, well, I guess now that Crowley said everyone had to report in, he would report in that, he just feels tired and he was looking forward to getting some sleep after a full shifts of work.
Okay, I would like to bring him in to sickbay.
Okay.
And check him over and have a discussion with him as well.
Okay. Before we cut to the captain hailing Regulus 5, I need every single player character to roll me a... what did I make this? A fitness plus medicine task. And the difficulty here is going to start at a 1.
Fitness plus medicine. Can composure count as a focus?
I'll allow it.
This is gonna be bad because my fitness isn't too great. So let's see how this goes.
Oh, I see red for the captain.
Fitness and medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Difficulty 1, that's fine.
Yeah.
Good. What was I? Before we go to the captain, I would like to do something, if I may.
Oh, yeah, sure.
After I assemble the security teams that Crowley talked about, I would like to see if I can run basically like an internal scan of the ship and see if maybe there's an abnormal amount of gas in the ship's like internal atmosphere that normally wouldn't be there.
Okay. I'll get you in a second. Let's deal with the effects of the roll.
Sure.
So, everyone, save for the captain, is starting to feel a little bit tired, but you shrug it off as just being normal. Ensign Hyde, you feel fine. You feel right as rain. You don't feel any fatigue whatsoever.
So the Cation colony virus doesn't spread to me. Very interesting.
Maybe that's because you succeeded. Maybe that's a thing. Who knows? As for Tahan, you did succeed, but you also rolled a complication here. And
That's right.
I'm going to make the complication that you are feeling lethargic, but not as badly if you had failed outright the roll. So instead of getting the full effects, your critical failure range is only going to be an 18 to 20 rather than a 16 to 20.
Oh boy.
Okay.
But yeah, getting back to Klein. So Klein, you run a quick diagnostic of the environmental systems, and you would confirm that no anesthetizing gas has been sort of slipped into the system. The environment seems to be very standard. Even the temperature has been fixed from the shenanigans that were last week's. Everything seems to be fine.
Alrighty, well, I guess then, unless Sin stops me, I'll be on one of the security teams that's doing like wellness checks.
Okay. Alright, so we cut to the ready room, or at least where I'm assuming the captain's going to hail Regulus 5.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to do it on the bridge, we can do it on the bridge.
This is fine. Let's do this.
Alright, yeah. So, you call up Regulus 5, and the administrator answers and says, Captain Tahan, didn't leave anyone behind, did you?
No, I'm afraid we may have picked something up that we may not should have. We are experiencing a widespread fatigue. Our doctors haven't identified exactly the cause yet, but it has there's a recent occurrence, and we wanted to see if any such thing was happening on Regulus 5.
Well, to my knowledge, I've not heard of any medical or otherwise health concerns among the populace, but if one does crop up, I can certainly let you know.
How much longer are we going to be in communications range with Regulus 5?
Oh, I would say more than several days.
Okay. If you find anything out, please hail us and let us know.
Of course. Is there anything else I can do for you, Captain?
Oh, no, that's everything. Thank you very much.
Understood. Regulus 5 out.
I will send Dr. Brin a short message saying what I just learned, and also let him know that I am myself feeling slightly drowsy, but and somewhat jestingly, but nothing a direct Digito can't fix. Although I will keep an eye out for it, and if I feel worse, I will let him know.
Okay. So it is at this point, I do sort of open up and ask, what is everyone else doing while this somewhat developing crisis is going on?
Crowley is going to have Hylong scan for any anomalies that resemble a Titan's Rift.
Okay. So let me just do some token cleanup here. Hylong does the scan and reports, Sir, I'm not detecting any form of, I guess you would call it, you must excuse me, Commander, and she rubs her eyes. Sorry, no, I'm not detecting anything that would indicate a rift.
Any anomalies at all? Cloaked vessel, maybe?
Unless you count a double sweet ractigino being produced instead of a plate of noodles, I'm not seeing any anomalies.
Okay. And how are you feeling, Chief?
I've been better, but I'll manage.
Okay. If you decide to fall asleep, please do so off the bridge, preferably the sick bay.
Noted, sir.
Unless you want me carrying you down there.
I honestly would like to see you try. And she does smile at you, though the weariness behind the smile is readily apparent.
How bad does the ship feel? Like, I want to try and sense how many people are, exhausted and worn out, and I want to see if there's any anomalies in the emotional spectrum. Like, is someone happy that everyone's just being weird?
I would say, we'll say for sake of argument, this is about hour 9. By this point, so normally as an empath, you feel the ship at large, and it's a combined feeling of several hundred, kind of emotional states.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if half or more of those voices have gone silent. And those voices or feelings that you're picking up, they're all sort of the same thing: confusion and weariness.
Commander Crowley to the captain.
Captain here?
I want to get a buddy system set up, so no one's alone. I don't want anyone being on a catwalk or in a turbolift shaft going down when they suddenly fall asleep.
It's an excellent idea. Put it into place immediately.
And I'll do another announcement just telling everyone to pair up. Anyone that's doing any repair work that requires them to be on any scaffolding, catwalk, anything like that, is to lock that system down and disengage from that and go do something else.
Okay. Out of curiosity, who is going to be everyone's buddy?
Well, I guess I'll go keep an eye on the captain while I'm on the bridge. If his ready room's off to the side, I'll just kind of stand in the doorway.
I mean, I'm ready to come back to the bridge after my call with Regulus.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you come back onto the bridge. What about, let's say, Bryn? I mean, you're in sick bay, and you do have nurses. I'm guessing just one of your nurses is going to keep an eye on you?
Yeah, I don't really plan on leaving sickbay. So I think we're all just kind of keeping an eye out on each other, myself and the medical staff, and the emergency medical hologram as well.
Okay. Klein, I'm assuming you're doing similar with your security teams?
Yep.
Okay. Then I believe that just leaves Ensign Hyde. Would you
We
specifically
are
ask? Go ahead.
we are probably the highest risk of an accident if somebody falls asleep, so I'm going to do a triple system where everybody has two buddies,
Okay. Noted.
just in case.
Are we still moving?
I mean, you never called for the Arcadia to come to a stop, so yeah, you're still traveling along at about warp 8 towards Starbase 211.
Captain, I'd advise we drop it off warp and switch systems into skeleton crew mode or automated mode. If we are losing crew in an alarming number, the ship can still function with minimal support.
If we're losing crew, I don't want to slow down. Closest starbase is almost all the way back at Earth.
I just don't want any accidents happening while we're flying out there. Someone falls asleep and turns off the navigational shields, and we're dust.
What's our is warp 8 our cruising speed?
Yep.
We'll put in some electronic and automatic safeguards into place, but for the time being, we'll continue at present speed.
Very well.
All right.
And essentially, we'll put a dead man switch on all vital systems.
Makes sense. All right. So it is at this point. I need everyone to roll me another fitness medicine. The difficulty is now a 2.
I wanted to bring something up because I remember there's a weird quirk of trail physiology.
Uh-huh.
They are highly resistant to parasitic infection, if that's relevant.
Yeah, and Tellarites.
It's part of the trail trait.
Yeah,
Right.
Tellarites have a high tolerance for drugs and toxins and inebriates as well.
Well, since you both brought it up, let's say that each of you will count as having a focus, even though you may not.
Okay.
I don't know how much that helps you, but we'll see. All right, so Crowley's fine, Bryn's fine. All right.
I'd like to add to threat to buy a third die.
Okay, you do have 2 momentum if you so wish.
Oh, we do?
Yep.
I'll do that instead.
Do you guys mind if I steal our last momentum as well?
Yes. No.
Go for
No
it.
for Klein.
Mine hasn't progressed
Okay.
nearly as far, so.
So no
Just kidding.
applicable focus. Submit.
Oh no.
So
Oh Jesus.
let's go down the list here. We'll start at the bottom. So Klein,
Sure.
thanks to the buddy system, you are stopped from, walking into the southbound end of a northbound cow.
Sure.
As they say. And we'll say that now your complication range, due to your fatigue, is now 16 to 20. Captain,
Alrighty.
since this is your second failure, you literally crumple in your seat and are out like a light. And
I think I rolled 3 16s.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask that to keep you in the adventure that you now play Jero Los.
Okay.
But this happens on the bridge in front of everyone. Just the captain goes blah in his chair.
I lean over and say, I'm the captain now. No, I'm just kidding. I'll just look at the captain. I was like, Tara, Hylong, you have the bridge. Loss with me, and I'm just gonna fireman carry the captain.
Okay. Let's see what else. So, Ensign Hyde, you're feeling a little bit fatigued, but very similar to how the captain only felt about half the effects. Your complication range is only 18 to 20. Bryn and Crowley, you guys are fine.
I'm going to check a lot of the redundant systems on the ship. I'm specifically going to check the replicators.
Okay. What are you looking for in particular?
I'm looking for particularly power spikes, like a replicator is stuck producing something, or perhaps one of the replicators is just any sort of anomaly. One's taking more power, one's taking less power, anything.
Okay. Let's do a insight engineering. We'll make the difficulty a 2, and we'll say you actually, because you're chief engineer, the difficulty will only be a 1. We'll say for sake of argument, you do have a focus as well.
I believe I also get a bonus D20 from talent.
You know your ship, yes.
Yes, good. Insight engineering, you said?
Yep. Okay.
Oof.
I'm going to take threat for that complication. So you do get a momentum back, and Hyde, I wouldn't call it a level 1 diagnostic, but maybe, a 2 or 3 of every one of the systems you mentioned, and I would say the only anomaly that you're seeing, if you could call it an anomaly, is that the replicators have been mostly used for energy drinks or energy food, things to keep people awake. But other than that, no replicator seems to, like, as you say, be stuck on. You're not seeing any, replicators spewing out gas, things of that nature. Actually, everything on the ship seems to be working as it should.
So in my medical scans, am I finding any sort of traces of a toxin or of a virus with anybody?
Well, actually, let's make a scene of this as Crowley brings the captain into sickbay along with Los. All right, so there's Crowley, there's the captain, and there's Los. So yeah, by this point, Bryn, your entire sickbay is filled with people in comas, and you're even having to use, like, floor space. There's just so many.
So is anybody that's just falling asleep, like if they're off shift and they're going to sleep, are they falling into a coma as well?
That appears to be the case, yes.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's clear one of these beds for the captain. I want him as one of the top priority patients in here.
Okay. So, Nameless Ensign number 2 gets booted from the main bed.
Yeah, and I'm going to start running correlating the scans that I'm coming up with on everybody for signs of either a toxin or a virus or anything that's out of the ordinary that everybody shares in common.
Okay. I would like you to roll me a reason plus medicine here. I'm going to make the difficulty a 3. A focus of yours will apply.
Okay.
And because I'm feeling nice, I'm going to let the Arcadia herself assist with a sensors plus medicine. We'll say that the EMH is assisting you in such a fashion.
Okay, I would like to buy also an additional D20 by using. We don't have any momentum right now, right?
I think you have 1.
Okay, it's okay if I use.
No, we only had 2, and Klein and the captain both used though.
Yeah, I think we're out.
Fair
Aren't
enough. Yeah, I guess you don't have any then.
I'll give you a point of threat to add another die if that's all right with everyone.
Yeah,
I have the bold medicine trait, so I
Yeah.
want to. All right, so that'll be what, 3d20?
3d20.
All right, and you said I do have a focus, and then the ship.
Ship is doing sensors medicine, whoever's rolling for the ship.
I'll roll for the ship. Why not?
Okay.
And you said, and ship always has a focus, correct?
Ship always has a focus, yes. Alright, so I believe that is 2 momentum in your favor. So, Bryn, I mean, you're a thorough doctor. You know when to start screening blood, and you know when to start, really digging into things that a normal tricorder scan might not necessarily start to pick up. And again, you can ask questions using momentum, but the first thing that occurs to you as you run this newest scan is that it's as if the bioelectric energy that, humanoid bodies naturally, create and give off, it's almost as if this energy is being sapped by something, by a specific entity or entities in a person's body.
So an entity that's internal to a person's body,
That is correct, yes.
and have I picked up any sort of indication or traces of this entity at all?
I would say
Other
if you give me 2 momentum that you just got, I will answer that question.
what do
Because
you
this
guys
is
think?
essentially going to be a crate advantage.
All right, yeah, I'll do that then.
Okay. So again, you do a very thorough scan and try to track down where the hell this bioelectric energy is going. And we'll say, for sake of argument, you're working on Jensen because Jensen seems to have been patient 0.
Right.
And what you're finding is that sort of in the neck area, not quite at the heart level, but also not quite at head level, sort of in that general vicinity,
Hmm.
there is a massive collection of what appear to be nanomachines.
Do I recognize the origin of these nanomachines at all?
I would say, and I'll give this to you free, I would say you're able to tell that these are strangely Federation in design, but you've never seen this particular configuration before.
Commander,
What's up?
I think we're getting a little bit closer as to the cause of what's happening. All of the patients that I've brought in are showing traces of nanotechnology that's actually siphoning off the bioelectric signatures that our bodies normally give off. It's actually causing the fatigue and causing what's going on board the ship. This nanotechnology appears to be Federation based, but I've never seen anything like this before.
I want to look at the reports that he has, like the scans.
Mm-hmm.
Are these the Arcadia's own medical nanites, or is this something different?
No, this is not anything that you would have had on board.
We picked this up somewhere.
Commander,
Yes, Ensign?
I suggest we consider this a hostile threat. Someone is actively doing this to us.
Yeah. Who would have access to the ability to replicate nanites?
Is that in character or out of question?
In character.
I wouldn't be able to answer that. That's not my specialty.
Los, you would know that obviously the doctor can, and any. I hesitate to call them special, but certain other nurses and sickbay aides can. But
Oh God,
aside
Carruthers.
from that, Carruthers could most definitely. I would say the only other people that might have access are security personnel. So Klein and Sin could technically do it, but they would have to enter in a good reason as to why.
I'm gonna pull up the computers and see if anyone's tried to replicate anything like this.
Okay. I will say, why don't you go ahead, because you could use some momentum here. Go ahead and roll me we'll call it a reason plus security. And I'll make this a difficulty 1.
Since someone was trying to be, sneaky about this, can I use my focus espionage to look for tracks, in
Sure.
the system?
I'll allow it. So you get a momentum. Good news, bad news. Good news, you're not seeing any deliberate signs that someone has been sneakily trying to, broadcast nanites where they shouldn't be. And that also kind of means you don't have a lead, but you also do note, rather interestingly, that Tivna has sealed the intelligence room. I think we've discussed this before, but the intel room is one of the very rare places on the ship that can effectively cut itself off from the rest of the ship.
And I'm assuming Tivna does not have a buddy.
Tivna does not have a buddy, that is correct.
Commander Crowley to Tivna.
Tivna here, Commander. What can I do for you?
Can you do a medical scan on yourself just to send information to the doctor?
Certainly, sir. One moment. And you kind of hear off screen, you hear a tricorder being opened and run over her, and she says, should be getting that information momentarily, sir. And sure enough, Bryn, you kind of look at a pad, and she seems to be perfectly fine. I think because now you know what to look for, you maybe have her scan a certain way, and yeah, she has no nanites whatsoever in her body.
So the rest of us, like myself included, and the commander, and everyone else, we still have signs of this nanites. It's just not affecting us as much yet.
Correct.
And she's completely nanite free.
That is also correct.
Is she? And she's the only person that I've scanned that has been nanite free. Correct?
To my knowledge, yes.
I just sort of give a look to the commander.
Tiffany, how long have you been up in that laboratory?
Past 10 hours, sir?
Past 10 hours. Can you give me a better number than that?
0200 about yesterday?
Have you been running any experiments?
No.
How come you sealed the room from the rest of the ship?
Well, I saw that there were reports of some sort of medical emergency, and I just sort of acted on instinct, sir.
And do you have supplies to last you?
I have enough to last me a few days, if need be, yes.
Okay. We're gonna work on routing flight controls and ship functions to that section of the ship. You're not affected by potential nanites. Might as well have someone able to steer the ship.
Commander,
Yes?
I don't know who Tivna is, and I may be speaking out of rank, but if I were trying to take over the ship, I would seal myself off and do it.
I'll just look to Lois and make sure the communications are cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's why I want her to think that we think she's an asset and not against her.
The only person we can trust right now, I'll turn over my shoulder and look at the electronic, the emergency medical hologram.
He can be reprogrammed.
Well, not if we set reprogramming into beyond anything she can get past.
Well, for now, let's not put blame on someone. She is Starfleet after all.
Well, it doesn't matter who. We have to be ready for the potential that the hologram takes over the ship. We have to protect that from anyone. It might not be whoever Tivna is, but
We'll set up some contingencies. Doctor, can you tell where these nanites were manufactured? Were they replicated aboard, or were they brought aboard?
Was there any way for me to figure that out?
I would say that these are, again, not anything that you or anyone on the Arcadia could have replicated without it being noted somewhere. So your best guess is that, yeah, these sort of just came aboard at some point.
And can I tell how they're transmitted? If they're transmitted like airborne nanites or whatever?
If you spend that momentum you have for the question, I will answer it.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and spend that.
All right. So, yes.
If that's okay with everyone, I don't want to just spend it without you guys.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So in that case, yes, you study Jensen because again, patient zero, good person to study. You realize that the colony of nanomachines are, I guess you would call it sporing. Jensen's body seems to be emitting from his pores the nanomachines, almost like a cloud or a mist, but it's, of course, it's such a fine and molecular level that you're obviously not able to see it visually.
Can we establish a connection to the nanites?
You could certainly try.
Let's do that.
So I guess I'm curious, how would you go about establishing this link? Would you legitimately just take out a tricorder and try to, send commands at the nanites, or would you open some sort of communications channel? How do you go about this?
Could use the tricorder as a bridging device. This way, that we don't have direct access to the computer core, but basically have the tricorder bridge a signal to them. The typical, if they are Federation nanites, they should have a communication channel to relay information back and forth to either whoever's controlling them or to themselves to tell, like, hey, nanite B, nanite A is malfunctioning, take over his job. Communication like that, and then have it tied to the computer after through the replicator, so we can access the translation matrix.
Okay. Yeah, it's significantly technobabbly enough for me to like it and make it work. All right, so you set this all up, and I'm curious as to which nanomachines you're testing this on first.
Let's do the ones within the neck, the cluster.
On which patient?
0.
Okay, Jensen. All right, so we'll say, Crowley, you're sort of supervising Bryn as he does this, since Bryn would have the most knowledge. Or so I imagine, anyway. And Bryn, you set all this up, and you... I guess what would be the first thing you send along this channel?
Can you understand us?
Okay. So, yeah, actually, you get a reply back that says, yes, we understand you perfectly fine.
You are causing harm to the individual you're currently in. Are you aware of this?
It's a pause, and there's a message that comes back and says, we are merely fulfilling our purpose. The side effect that seems to be afflicting our host is regrettable, but it is necessary for us to survive. And I think at this point, those words, if you weren't thinking this already, this is beyond like nanite level sentience at this point.
Yeah. What is your purpose? What were you designed for?
We were initially designed to combat insomnia among Caitians on Regulus 5.
You seem to be self-aware. Is this correct?
That is correct, yes. We are aware of ourselves and those we reside in.
Do you need a host to survive?
That is correct. Our programming necessitates that we maintain our presence within a host, otherwise we are required to self-terminate.
How many of there are you?
Unclear. Do you mean within a host or overall?
Within the ship.
Unknown?
How many within just one individual?
It rattles off a number in the billions.
Okay.
Commander,
Yes?
perhaps the Doctor and Carruthers could create new hosts for these nanites.
Worth a shot. What are your requirements for a host?
It must possess bioelectric energy so that we may function. It must also have a way for us to interact with your macro world.
Alright.
What do you mean by interacting with our macro world? What do you need to interact with?
We do not wish to simply remain at a microscopic level. We are aware. We understand that awareness is a right afforded to all Federation individuals. We are Federation in nature. Thus, we request to be treated as any emergent life.
That is fair to request.
Well, that's just great.
Right now, our crew are in danger, though. We need to help them. We need to help you. Are we able... I have a proposition. Are you able to contain yourself all within one individual for a time being? This way you do not detonate or terminate, but then will be moved to a new host, a host made for you. Would that be acceptable?
That many nanomachines in one particular host would kill the host.
Well, I'm sure we could all do without Ensign Jensen, right?
Doctor,
I'm kidding.
you're designed to treat insomnia. Are you not able to have alternate functions to keep the host alive?
Not as of this moment. We have only recently gained sentience. It
That reminds me
requires
of
vast numbers of us to attain such webbing and neural networking.
Was this gaining of sentience, was this prompted by an outside source?
Unknown. Current speculation is it was a random occurrence.
I have a horrible idea. I'm gonna transmit the readings of Andromeda's physiology to them.
Okay.
Why couldn't we just turn off all the systems on the ship and then pulse it with EMP until they're gone?
Could.
Who
I
knows?
I mean, that's technically genocide, but
Okay.
who's counting?
I don't have to say it then.
It's technically
Who knows what it might
Jensen's side.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Throw tomatoes at him.
Yeah. Carthus to sickbay, please. Yeah. I gotta talk to myself now.
Yeah, you get to talk to yourself. I ain't gonna bail you out of this.
Yes, Commander. Carthus will head to sickbay. Yes, Commander.
And actually, before this conversation happens, I do need everyone to now roll me another sort of fatigue test. Fitness medicine.
Gee.
Low, since this is your first time making the test, you're at difficulty 1. Everybody else, difficulty 3. And as before, Bryn, you have counted as a focus if you didn't have one already. And Hyde, you also have a focus that would apply.
I want to use fast recovery.
Okay.
Just to like an adrenaline shock, because it's supposed to recover stress, but I want to use it like an adrenaline shock to keep myself going.
Apparently, I'm feeling invigorated.
Yeah, apparently Bryn is enough to get you a momentum at that.
So what would that do for me then? Would I still roll, or would I just take
I will
it?
give you an extra dice.
Okay. And that was fitness medicine.
Yes.
Could I possibly make an argument for the human trait for a focus?
You'd have to give me a good argument. What would that argument be?
Well, it says that humans are adaptable and resilient, and their resolve and ambition often allow them to resist great hardship and triumph despite great adversity. Since if you won't give it to me, I'm not going to argue too hard.
Yeah,
since-
I would say that, that works for social situations and combat, but, sort of an outbreak or a plague, like if this turns into the ship of the Walking Dead, maybe.
Okay.
But I don't think it's going to help you here.
Okay, fair enough.
But let's see. That's Los, that's Hyde, that's Bryn. Who are we missing?
Just me, I think.
Okay.
So
Let's see what you get.
probably not going to go well. No focus.
Okay.
So
let's start at the bottom, work our way up.
That's a-
Klein, at this point.
that's a complication too, because I rolled a 19 on that 0.
Oh, so you did. So Klein, same thing that happened to Captain. You're out, and you
All
have
right.
your pick of supporting characters.
Let's see.
Crowley, you are now at an increased complication range, 16 to 20. Hyde, you are actually hanging on by a thread. I would say not only now is your complication range 16 to 20, but you now, for any future tasks against fatigue, you are rolling 1 less dice than normal. And that's because you're occasion.
This is getting desperate. We need to send these people these nanites, excuse me, an ultimatum. If they kill us all, they'll kill themselves when we inevitably fly ourselves into a planet.
Right, right. Los, you're at 16 to 20. Bryn, you don't care. You're fine. You're a Tellarite. Who cares?
Let's see. I'll take control of. Oh, I'll let Crowley finish, and I'll say what I have to say about supporting character stuff.
So the reason why I'm sending them the information on Andromeda's system is because she had high amounts of bio energy that her suit was able to maintain, stuff like that.
I see.
So I'm wondering if they're accepting of that.
Yes. In fact, they come back after probably about a 5 minute span of where you're starting to wonder if they're gonna reply or if if the message didn't go through, and they said, "This is acceptable. Please construct," and they give you a number, X amount of suits for use.
Would you be fine with one?
It is impossible to fit as many of us as there are into one suit.
Brothers, they feed off bio energy. Are you able to construct anything that could maybe help them? And Crothers will just kind of figure out what's all happening, piece it all together. He's like, the Bioroid's design that I was planning on trying to implement might, but I'm still off on that. I don't know. It's possible, but it's I don't have anything constructed. I wasn't given permission to construct. I have pieces and compounds, but nothing complete. Crowley will just mull it over and look to Bren, and then back to Jensen and Tricorder. You're able to survive in one body, even if the host is dead? Or at least able to produce bioelectric energy?
Unknown. It is simply known that the quantity of nanomachines in a single body must not exceed, and they give you a value.
Is there any way for you to go into like a low power mode or something?
At the cost
that you're
of
not-
our temporary sentience, yes. Basically, they say it's the equivalent of turning off the EMH. Where the EMH, it technically in Voyager has some form of sentience, and turning him on and off is, he doesn't like it, but it could be done, yes.
Is there anything aboard the ship, this is player asking, that could pump out enough bioelectric energy that they could survive in, besides humans?
I would say there is a facility on board, and funnily enough, it's one that Andromeda herself used to work in.
Oh, our science lab.
Nope. Guess again.
Bioneural computer gel packs.
Good guess,
The
but no.
garden?
The garden. You have a full arboretum on, I believe it's deck 10, that is quite literally a collection of plants and other, sort of flora and fauna. Well, I guess not so much fauna. That could conceivably serve as a home for these nanites.
Alright. Yeah, I'll tell them that. Are they able to go there themselves, or do they need a host?
We will require specific transfusions. However, if you are able to do this for us, we will provide the command code that will allow you to communicate this fact to every other nanomachine on the ship.
I think we should do this as promptly as possible, Commander. My main interest is my biological patients, and this is reaching a critical point.
Very well. What do you need?
Is that a question to the nanites?
Yeah. What was it that they needed?
Well, they mostly just wanted your assurance you weren't going to just, draw them out of the body and throw them into space, but...
Oh, if they want assurance, they can use me as a host.
Alright. That is not necessary. We will gather at this location on the body, and they give what would be the equivalent of a belly button on most species. You may withdraw us there and insert us into the new host. The command codes for transmitting this information to the other nanites are as follows, and they give you a very high-level command code.
Very trusting nanomachines.
Well, they're kind of like kids. You know, they don't know any better, and they have to be trusting, because if they're not, then, you know, what does that say about, you know, the Federation, I suppose?
They need a host, but they're going to be allowed to be withdrawn, so they have to have a host to take them to the plants. I'm assuming. Or how long can they be without a host?
Well, it's going to be one of those things where, and this would be something you and Bryn would probably figure out, you'd have to take every single person affected by this to the Arboretum, withdraw the nanites, put them in a plant somewhere, and then repeat that process over and over again until every single individual on the ship has been purged.
That's going to take a bit.
Yeah, it is going to take a bit.
Is there any way to speed up the process with the transporters?
I would say if you want to get the transporters involved, it will speed up the process, but unlike the quote-unquote manual way to do it, the transporters would be a series of, well, not a series of, but a extended task.
Oh.
I mean, they're clearly able to survive outside of the of a host for a little bit because they're spreading via like airborne clouds, right, to other hosts.
Oh. Why not open up enough of the ventilation systems aboard the ship through the life support so they have a direct path so they can just drift on in? Like, we can just set the ventilation so it's constantly moving air right towards the Arboretum.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. My problem with that is that doesn't get them out of the body.
Yeah, it just takes care of the ones that are still floating around in the air.
Yeah, that you could do.
And I guess what we'll do is get anyone that's still awake into sickbay, a brush up course on how to use a hypospray, and told to go to the Arboretum after they're helping people.
Can these nanites, like I asked, go into a low power mode so that their current hosts that are in comas can at least become mobile to walk themselves to the Arboretum?
So the one thing I'll say is that command code you got, you can do everything from turn them off completely to ask them to self-destruct. So yes, you could force them into a low power mode.
I don't know if I'd want to force them into that.
If they're sentient, it's like putting someone to sleep or in a coma against their will.
The only problem for my character is that he's got a value that is principles, or people are worth more than principles.
Mm-hmm.
So his main concern is, you know, like I said, his biological patients.
Right.
He's more concerned about them than he is about the nanites, but he's not a fan of genocide or starting a culture war at the same time.
How many? Okay, so if we have let's say we have 10 patients, how many nanites and patients can one person hold within them before it becomes lethal?
2 or 3?
2 or 3. All right.
Well, I guess I'll get in teleporters, Captain. Transporters, excuse me. I'm awake,
yeah,
I swear.
How quickly would, so let's say I'm going to go and take the nanites from Jensen to a hyperspray and then get going to the Arboretum.
Mm-hmm.
How quickly does he wake up?
Unknown.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we're going to do that. We're going to get everyone who's awake. It will start treating everyone, and then if we can get them up, they can start doing the same.
Okay. And are you going to be using the transporters or not?
What was the risk with the transporters?
The risk with the transporters are, of course, complications. It also might be a little bit more time consuming, or it could save you time. It really just depends on how good your rolls are.
Nobody's really in any danger right now that we've established communication, correct?
No, well, they are still in danger because you've not transmitted something to all the nanites yet.
How about this? They said that if they're not within a host, they have to terminate, right?
Correct?
I'm going to transmit an override code for that subroutine.
Okay.
So if they're not on a host, they don't have to terminate. They can
Okay.
continue, and then I'll do a recall command, so they all go to one point, and then, because I'm assuming they're like the nanites in Star Trek TNG, like Doctor Stubbs and his egg. Wesley was able to have them recalled, and they were supposed to come back to the container. They never did. That means they can travel around on the floor or air.
Okay. Yeah, that is something you can certainly do with the command codes you've got.
So I want to recall them to the Arboretum
Okay.
and update the protocol. And while I'm updating their termination protocol, I'm removing that, so they cannot be ordered to destruct.
Okay.
And I'll have Kratos help me with this.
Let's make a roll of this. Let's do a daring plus, I would say, science. Difficulty
Okay.
3.
I'm going to have Carruthers do this, because Crowley will be ordering him to do.
Okay.
Let's see, bioengineering, computers, experimental technology, or surgeon? Which would be
One
a
of them would
focus?
apply.
And since I'm doing the advisory, what would that be there? Control command?
From Crowley, presence command.
Presence command. Diplomacy, because I was good diplomatic with them.
Yeah, I'll let it happen. This is very diplomatic of you. All right, so that's one success from Crowley.
Alright. And here's for Carruthers.
All right, so
Advisor allows me to give a reroll, right?
it does.
They're in science. Yeah. Ooh.
There you go. That's what you needed. So yeah, sure enough, Crowley, you working with Crothers and your quick thinking, you transmit a ship-wide sort of override code that does everything you mentioned. And Bryn, since you are the doctor and paying attention to this sort of thing, you are now noticing that the nanomachines are leaving the individuals' bodies in mass, and that they seem to be traveling through the life support system, the environmental systems, to what you assume is probably the Arboretum.
All right, I'm gonna send one of my nurses up to the Arboretum and scan up there to make sure everything's going according to plan on that end as well.
Okay. So yeah, you send a nurse up, and after a couple minutes of waiting, they report back, yes, sir, we are seeing that the nanites are not only arriving here in the Arboretum, but they are embedding themselves within the plant life.
Okay, well, get yourself out of there. We don't want them mistaking you for one.
Of course, sir.
The moment that the systems have confirmed that they're all in there, sealing off the Arboretum from the rest of the ship. We'll still have like airflow and stuff like that there, but it's contained.
I gotcha. And it actually is at this point that people begin to start waking up. The first is actually the captain.
I just look at him like, you're a lightweight.
So, what?
You're very light to pick up. That's what I mean.
Oh, I take it I fell asleep, didn't I?
It's very dignifying. No one saw the drooling.
I'm gonna give him a quick scan to make sure that everything is copacetic.
He's perfectly okay. In fact, he's a little bit better. It is as if he has taken not only a good night's rest, but he's gotten the required amount of REM sleep as well.
Wow.
Wow.
Rigel 5, was it?
Regulus 5.
Rigel 5. I'm gonna send them a very detailed message of their protocols and standards for transmitting any of this type of stuff, and with also to follow up regulations on notifying vessels of this.
Okay.
Crowley, you look terrible. You should get some rest.
I feel okay. I can probably go another day without sleep.
Roll me a fitness medicine. You have taunted the GM. The difficulty will be a 4.
Can it be a fitness security?
No, it is a fitness
No.
medicine.
Difficulty of 4.
Yeah, it goes up every time we do this.
Well, I gotta focus. I'm not gonna burn a momentum for this. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, Crowley, you say, no, I don't need to, and then you just go onto the floor. You're asleep.
Yep. I should have seen that one coming.
I always tell him he needs to get more sleep.
Cross is just looking at the commander, like, huh, he does sleep.
All right, let's
I
swap the
hop-
captain out.
Yeah, I hop off my bed. It's like, I guess he'll need that more than me.
Something tells me this isn't the nanites this time. This is just working too hard.
Yeah, Crowley's probably been up for like 5 days.
Yeah, you're out like a light. You ain't waking up anytime soon.
Are the rest of the patients starting to wake up as well?
Oh yeah, even Jensen, and Jensen's kind of coming to life and says, I knew it. I had acute hypersomnia. I told you, doctor. I told you.
I want to be standing right over Lieutenant Janice's bed,
Uh-huh.
and as soon as he wakes up, it's like, Lieutenant, you fell asleep on the bridge.
I would never do that, sir.
Golden opportunity to go like, Captain Janice, wake up!
It's fine, Lieutenant. So did I.
Wait, did I miss a chance to be in the chair again? Damn it.
Yes.
But you got this bed instead.
That's not the chair of the best starship in the fleet.
It's fine,
Wonderful.
Lieutenant.
Oh dear. All right, so to not like wrap things up for good, but to sort of bring everything together, the rest of the crew does recover over, we'll say, the next day and a half. If this were the show, there would be shots of people just strewn about the corridors, just slowly waking up and going back to whatever their business was. But we do end up in a senior staff meeting because you all have a very important question to answer, and that is what you're going to be doing with the nanites. So as I get everybody moved over, go ahead and chat amongst yourselves about what you want to do.
Is there any sort of detrimental effects to the plant life that we've allowed these nanites to go into?
Some of it's turned red, but not really other than that.
How long has it been since they've been taking over the Arboretum?
I would say at this point it has been 3 days since the incident.
Crowley would have gotten there probably a day and a half after, with a tricorder to communicate with them.
Okay. What in particular are you asking them about?
He's just asking if they're happy, and if there's anything else they need.
They would have replied, this is acceptable for the time being. However, we do need a greater environment to flourish.
I will transmit information on different classes of planets, planets within the travel distance of a couple of weeks travel times work, and let them pick a planet.
Okay. Well, let me consult the star chart. Let's see. Regulus is there.
Class L would work, right? If they just need plants.
Yeah, they could live off plants. Let's see. I would say, will they give a name of a system that is near Nausicaa, but is not Nausicaa itself? And for you guys, that would be a travel time of an additional 3 days.
We should probably not keep them on board. I'm pretty sure that goes against Starfleet protocols on approaching emerging civilizations.
Well,
I'm not exactly well versed on this, but
that's
There's
more
not a
or less.
protocol for this exact situation, but you're on the right track. And let's face it, we are likely headed into wartime, and I don't think a newly emergent species needs to be subjected to that.
No.
my thoughts as well. If they are able to root themselves on a planet such as this one that we've been offered, perhaps they could quickly grow into a new culture and develop technology of their own.
Absolutely. And I believe most of the modules on the ship are modular. What are the not mechanics, but can we tractor the Arboretum module down to the planet to let them out?
I would say that would be a bit of an undertaking, but you could certainly do it, yeah.
What's the other other than that? What's the best way other than, I guess, transporting them all down?
Well, probably transporting them all down, but
We could just have them all recall into a container and then transport them down and let them out.
Yeah, it would work. I like that. That's the easiest.
okay.
Yeah, well,
All that I know is that Ensign Jensen is going to be very happy. I never thought I'd say this, but his name is actually going to appear in the medical journals.
that's good for him.
But Doctor, I thought you weren't good with the words.
No.
It'll be a brief mention, page or two at most.
It'll be a very short journal.
Right? It's like a paragraph.
When you cut out the ostentation, you really can take those journals down pretty short.
I will communicate the information to the nanites and let them know the plan.
All right. So at this point, we kind of come to the end of the session, where we have you all very briefly, well, not briefly, but you arrive at the aforementioned planet. I am calling it Zasmade, Xasmade, if it matters. And yeah, you undertake the somewhat irregular but completely possible procedure of quite literally detaching the Arboretum and lowering it down to the planet, but...
No, I think what we're doing is we're just gonna get them all together in a container.
Oh, no, they would have definitely said, we'll just take the Arboretum.
Oh, we're just gonna take part of your ship. Goodbye. Like,
Well, we're taking the Arboretum back.
I mean, that is our arboretum.
Well,
We like plants too.
we'll say this then. You lower it down so that it's easy for them to sort of disseminate into the greater environment. And after you have been given the quote-unquote all clear, you bring the Arboretum back up and reattach it. Probably means, good couple days work on Hyde's part in her department, but kind of goes off without a hitch. And
I can't believe you've done this to me.
We'll say that, yeah, everything goes off without a hitch. There's no more traces of the nanites anywhere aboard the Arcadia, and things return to normal, whatever that means for this ship.
Not much.
I'm going to beam down a little communication relay that they can activate
Okay.
and transmit if they need to ever contact us.
Or contact Starfleet in general, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's see here. I know Klein wanted to do something.
Yeah, Klein, what you got in mind?
Oh, well, I was just gonna say in terms of my supporting character, I was gonna actually use Delux, but that doesn't matter too much now. But let's see here. If there's a moment while Crowley's not in his office, I would like to sneak a data pad onto his desk that just says, let me give... wait, no. Sorry. English is hard sometimes.
Hmm.
Give me a chance to prove I'm not normal, in quotes, and that I'm playing, I would assume I could find clips from the fights between him and the captain and him and Hylong, correct?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'll have that, and then I'll have clips from both of those fights playing after it. And then I'll just walk out and leave it there.
Nice.
I don't know. Guess we'll find when I'm back in my office.
Yeah.
Alright, Lieutenant Commander Brin, please report to Holodeck 2. Lieutenant Klein, report to Holodeck 2.
On my way, Commander.
On my way.
Well, normally we would play this out, but I actually think that will be a good way to sort of introduce the next episode.
Yeah.
So unless anybody really has any objections, I think we're going to call the session a little bit early. Players, of course, stick around. But to anyone watching on Twitch or YouTube, thank you so much for watching. You will see these guys in a couple of weeks, but you will see me much sooner than that. But again, thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.